Hey, entrepreneurs, I'm excited for what you're going to be able to accomplish this year. But a lot of my clients ask me, hey, Todd, how come you don't set some kind of New Year's resolution, or why aren't you encouraging me to do so? And the answer is OKRs. OKRs stand for Objective and Key Result, and it's a strategy for setting goals within your company, for having a cascading system that starts with the long-term goal, and it breaks that down into, okay, if that's what we're trying to achieve, then that means in the first quarter, we need to accomplish this. And that means in this month, we need to accomplish this. That means this week we need to be focused on this, which means I need to create some time box space in my schedule to work on that. And that's the process that helps to keep you aligned and focused on your goals throughout the year. And you can do this with personal goals, you can do it with business goals. The point is that you want to connect your long-term goals and your medium-term goals with what you're doing today, because that generates the motivation. That's your why. And if you see a clear connection, you're going to feel more motivated naturally to close the gap between where you are now and where you know you could be if you execute well. So essentially, OKRs are just about keeping you motivated and preventing you from getting distracted. So one of the keys that you want when it comes to productivity is making sure that you are using the limited time, energy, attention, and resources you have at your disposal in such a way that you're tapping into the 80-20 activities that are going to make the most difference to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. We've said it many times, but it just bears repeating that time management is really a misnomer. We all have 24 hours in our day. It doesn't matter if you're Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or you. We all have exactly the same 24 hours, right? And so it's just about how can we allocate those hours in such a way that we unlock more progress toward the goals that matter. And that goal that matters, that could be spending more time with your family. That could be reducing work hours. That could be expanding on some hobbies that you enjoy. It doesn't have to be about business, right? So when we're talking about productivity, we're not just talking about making more money. We're talking about increasing the value that you and your company provide to the people who hire you, or those who purchase your products or your services. And in most cases, we're also talking about expanding the time that you have available to decompress, to just enjoy the flow of life as it unfolds. So as you look at this, just keep that in mind. This is to keep you laser focused on the stuff that matters so that you don't waste time spending your time chasing shiny objects and forgetting what the main point was, or not feeling motivated enough because it's not right there in front of you, this clear path to what you want. So let me just share my screen and show you what this looks like. All right, so this is a basic OKR template. And so this is something I share with my clients repeatedly. It's amazing how many business owners get started and then they get to this point where they have a team, often 5 or 10 people working with them. Sometimes they're independent contractors working around the world. Sometimes it's a home team of employees all in the same office space. But they get to a point where their own personal productivity goes off a cliff. Like if it's just really drops quickly because they don't have the skills and the leadership management experience that allows them to efficiently tap into the resources, the time, energy, and attention of their team members without it clogging up and bringing their own personal productivity significantly down. And so you end up becoming the hub, and there's all of these spokes that represented by all your different team members coming in. They're all coming back to you. So you spend a lot of time on Slack answering questions. You spend a lot of time putting out fires. People are working on something and they get stuck, so they ask you a question and you feel like you're wasting your company's money by not getting back to them right away. So instead of creating the space in your schedule to focus on how can I do a better job of automating, delegating, deleting things that shouldn't be on your plate in the first place, and really focusing on just the few things that need your attention most, those few 80-20 opportunities, again, that get you towards your goals faster than you otherwise would. And so OKRs are a system for using across your entire organization. And let me just remind you that this is a system that, while it may seem simple, is complex enough to hold within it all of the operations at Google, because this is the system that Google used. And if you want to read about how they use that from the point where they're at literally operating out of a garage to the point where they grew into the company they are now, you'll want to see how that happens. You can read a book by Andy Grove called Measure What Matters. Andy Grove is a person who was instrumental in there personally for a lot of that process of seeing the OKRs essentially being put into use in Google as one of the first companies that used that. It is also a method that's been used at Twitter, and lots of small companies have used this as well. Let me just show you how simple it is. So what you do is you just have an objective, and this is just something that says, the overall point of what you're trying to accomplish. It doesn't necessarily need to be measurable. In fact, usually it's not. It could be something like, we're going to have the best gaming software on the market by 2023. And that's not really measurable. How do we measure? What does best mean? And that's where at the second level, you have key results. And this is where you get more specific. You say, as measured by, and you'll insert some sort of thing here, like we have 400,000 people per month downloading our game. Might be one of the key results that matters to be able to say this is the best. Another one might be profit oriented. You might say, as measured by monthly profits of $4 million with MRR. And then here you might put something else that has to do with actually getting some of the first components up and operational. And once you have your key results that are measurable, then you break down each of those into initiatives. And those initiatives in turn can have infinite numbers of substeps and substeps of substeps. The key is that if you ever start getting lost, you can break this down, and you preferably want to put it in some sort of software system. Like what I'm using here is called Workflowy, but you could use Notion, you could use even Microsoft Word if you were to break something down in a way that uses their side columns. The key is that you want to be able to zoom out without getting distracted by all of the details, because sometimes they can be voluminous. So my recommendation is that for smaller business owners, that you don't keep all of your tasks in here. You probably do want to use a project management system like Asana or ClickUp, and use that for actually assigning the cards to your team members. There are softwares that are specifically designed with the OKR template that you could use if you wanted to. But it's, for most people, simpler just to use this at the high level planning part, and then take it from here and create a card, just copy and paste it into a card. Because again, this is about planning, right? This is about keeping everyone on track. You do always want to make sure, again, for productivity reasons, that when you do have a key initiative, that it is specifically owned by someone, a person on your team, right? And so if you have a department, preferably you're going to have someone who's the manager of that department or oversees that department. Then that person owns it, even if there's people working under them to accomplish the actual goals. So this is a very simple process. You want to make sure you don't have too many objectives. 3 is kind of the max you should aim for any given quarter or even a year. So people often ask me, well, what's the time frame? Like, do I set these as 3-year goals or 10-year goals or monthly goals? And the answer is yes. You preferably will have some OKRs that are kind of longer term, 10-year OKRs or 5 years. You're going to have some that are 1 year, and then you're going to have most of your focus on a quarterly OKR or a 12-week focus. So you might say, all right, for this next 12 weeks, this is our goal. And the way Google does it is, for their key results, they measure it on a 0 to 1 scale. And so 0.7 would indicate they achieved 70% of the key result. And if they achieve that, they consider that a full success. They celebrate that as if it's a 100% win. Why? Because they use high, hard goals. I had clients that have said to me, Todd, I don't want to set goals because I always miss them and then I feel bad. But the research shows us very clearly that you will achieve more if you're clear about your goals and it's a high, hard goal. And so the solution is that you've got to stop thinking of this as a measurement of how much of a success you are. The goal is to serve you. You don't serve your goals. So you're not going to get beat up, and you need to stop beating yourself up if you set a goal and you don't achieve it. The goal is there to serve you. It's like a beacon. You throw that beacon out into the woods and then you pursue it. And then when you reach that beacon, you celebrate, even if it took you 2 weeks longer than you thought. The beacon is a tool that helps you to get closer to what you want and to spend less time wasted wandering in circles, right? So the goal, it doesn't really matter. So if you achieve 70% of your goal, that's because you knew clearly what to do and you focused on it and you made a lot of progress. And so I say, set a hard goal and celebrate the fact that, man, we set a hard goal and we made a lot of progress. You don't need to beat yourself up, but you do need some kind of system like this. There's another method that's simpler than this called the Effic Planner. And the Effic Planner takes the concept from Stephen Covey. You're probably familiar with this. Now, Stephen Covey was one of the first people to popularize that concept where you take a jar and you say, put your big rocks in first, because if you do that and then you pour the pebbles in and then you pour the sand in, the small things around that, And then maybe some people even do this presentation where they add water at the end, everything fits. Versus if you try to put the sand and the pebbles in first, and then the water, what happens is the big rocks don't fit. And of course, the big rocks, they represent the needle moving big goals that you actually care about most. And so you want to put those in first, right? That concept is a central concept that Stephen Covey created. And my friend Dave Rule, who has created the Effic Planner, which I'll drop in the description notes below if you want to find a link to purchase one of those. It's basically a physical planner that you open up, and it helps you to just break this down. Like, okay, what's my long-term goal? What is the short-term goal? What am I going to accomplish this quarter? And each quarter you just get one of these journals, and then it breaks it down by each week, and then it shows you what to do each day in order to accomplish that goal. Again, it's based on this simple concept of OKRs, but it's just called something else. It's called, your rocks, your pebbles, and your sand. It's like breaking it from the big goal down to the smaller actions that will help you get towards that goal, and then the micro steps that will help you get even closer to that. Because in the end, how do you actually achieve big goals? It's through your action, right? And so what we're doing with productivity is we're actually just increasing the focus of your attention on the right things. And that's what an OKR is designed to do. So here's my challenge for you for this year and for this week is study OKRs. Just spend a few minutes. I'll even put a link to a quick summary article you can read about it. Just learn the basics and make sure you're using some kind of system that guides you and your team through implementation of this. If you need help, of course, I'd be happy to do that. And in the meantime, take care.